so this video is going to be the second video in the series of the Ezekiel 38 and 39 Great Northern War against Israel. All right. So in the last video, we basically covered who the players were. Now we're going to cover how the fight's going to go. And in the last video, we're going to cover the aftermath. Okay, so what we are going to have is the only way into Israel currently is to come down through Syria. Syria. Okay, Syria is on the northern border of Israel. Turkey is directly above Syria and touches it. Iran touches Syria. So Turkey and Iran can move their troops into Syria right down to the northern border. Now Russia, they have to basically take all of their military equipment, tanks, armored personnel carriers, anti-aircraft systems, troops, all of that equipment, they have to take that by train down through Uzbekistan and Turkestan to the border of Iran. And the train tracks in Russia and the old Soviet Union are different than the rest of Europe. So they have to take it down to Iran, okay, from this way, load it up, upload it, drive it across the border into Iran, load it on another train, and then they can take all the equipment via train down to Syria. So this is the fastest way to get equipment from Russia to the border of Syria. And just when you're dealing with that heavy equipment, the only way to move it is by train or by a very long time with very big ships. And the big ship method would take forever and would be not as fast. So train's a lot easier, just trust me on that. But that's why the stand countries are involved, I think, is not only do they send some troops, but they're necessary to move the Russian equipment down to the Syrian border. Okay, so right above the Syrian border is the city of Damascus, okay? So you got Damascus, and you got, in less than 100 miles, the border with Israel right below Damascus. Now, the reason I'm mentioning Damascus is, for Russia to have a land invasion with all these other countries, this giant land invasion, you can't do a giant land invasion if your enemy has air superiority, which means you have to have enough air superiority to hold them off or to defeat them, okay, or at least to fight them in the air while you guys drive in. So what Russia has to do is they have to bring a ton of their military air force down to the Damascus airport. Why the Damascus airport? Because it's the biggest, closest airport they can utilize to fight Israel from. The Iran airport's, you know, an extra 1,000 miles away. That's a lot of fuel to go back and forth, a lot of time back and forth to reload. It's much easier to use that Damascus airport as a staging ground for your fighter jets. Okay, so they're gonna bring all this equipment in. They're gonna build up on the border and get everyone built up and ready. And finally, they'll, you know, this usually takes a week or two to a month. They build it all up, and then they're going to drive across the border and head south with thousands upon thousands of vehicles, right? And they're going to have all these airplanes that are going to, you know, be in the air against the Israeli if they don't attack the Israeli Air Force first. So they're going to come heading south. Israel's going to have evacuated the north because it takes a while to build up, so they're going to pull everyone back out of the north. Now, here's what it says is going to happen in the Bible. And it says, on that day there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. I will summon a sword against Gog on my mountains, declares the Lord God. Every man's sword will be against his brother. Okay, this is normal, and all the times God has intervened in the past, he gets the enemy troops to end up fighting each other in the confusion. So that's pretty normal. Then it says, with pestilence and bloodshed, I will enter into judgment with them. Okay, pestilence and bloodshed. And I will rain down upon them, on the hordes of the people, torrents of rain, hailstone, fire, and sulfur. Fire, sulfur, pestilence. These are three key words I want you to remember. Okay, and I'll make my holiness known. Okay, so think is going to happen is not only is there going to be this big earthquake, and it even says that the mountains will fall on them, cliffs will crumble, walls will tumble. So basically there's going to be a giant earthquake and stuff's going to fall and block the road and everything. And then there's going to be fire, brimstone, and pestilence and all this stuff. And they're going to be fighting each other. And basically they're all going to die. Okay, so the reason, at first I thought this was all just going to be straight God doing all this. But there's a part, which I'll get into in the next video, but I just want to mention it here. And it says, at the end of 7 months, they will make their search. And when the travelers travel through the land and see a human bone, they shall set up a sign by it. And the buriers will come and take it to the valley to be buried. Okay. They're going to wait 7 months to go in and clean up the bodies. Okay. There's a very good reason why they're going to do this. And the only reason I can think of is fear of radiation exposure. Okay. And it makes a lot of sense. If you're having all these people attack you and come in, you're going to need something more than just conventional weapons if you're even Stevens. You're going to need to basically use some nuclear weapons. Now, there are different types of nuclear weapons. There is a very specific type of nuclear weapon. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it doesn't leave behind very much radiation at all. So in 7 months, you can go back into the area where this thing was detonated. And it only blows up about 400 yards, okay? They're called neutron bombs. And what they do is when they explode, they release neutron energy, which goes through metal, hits people, and acts like pestilence, causes you to destroy your cells and bleed out, okay? Catches you on fire sometimes, just does immense cellular damage with these neutrons going through you. So again, there's your pestilence, there's your fire and brimstone right there, okay? And there's a lot of ways to deliver these. You can use cruise missiles. You can use them in static places where you could place them along if it takes them a month to come down, what if they just mine the area with these things so that they're ready when they drive down on the major interstates to just blow the whole column with these things? Or you can launch them out of artillery cannons, big artillery cannons. You can fire them up to 25 miles away out of artillery cannons down into the area where the people are. Or you can just drop them from airplanes, okay? If you have air superiority. So there's a lot of ways to deliver these things. But you have to remember, Israel has had 50 years since the last major war to see this war coming and say, okay, if the Ezekiel war happens, now that we're a nuclear armed country, what are our options? And they come up with this neutron bomb plan to blow them up. So that's what, from reading the length of time and then going in and doing all this, I think there's going to be some supernatural, but there's also going to be the neutron bomb damage. Okay, so one more thing. Remember how I mentioned Damascus? Okay, and if we look here, when it talks about this Great Northern Army coming in, they're coming in for plunder, and they're coming in for loot and plunder is what says motivates them. So if you look in Isaiah 17, verse 14, Isaiah 17 is about the destruction of Damascus. Behold, Damascus will cease to be a city and will become a heap of ruins. And in part 14 it says, at the evening time, behold, terror. Before morning, they are no more. This is the portion of those who loot us and the lot of those who plunder us. Okay? Same words are being used in this prophecy. Plunder and loot. Same as in the Ezekiel prophecy. And so what I'm thinking is this giant ground invasion comes in, and as they're coming south, they've got the ambush prepared to trap them and just blow them to smithereens with these neutron bombs and conventional weapons. But as they're heading south, when they spring this trap, the other thing they want to do is they want to have a submarine off the coast in the Med launch a nuke into Damascus. Not a little one, a big nuke into Damascus, and totally wipe the airport out and all the area where the generals, the aircraft equipment, the reserve units, everything that's been, basically Damascus has to be the headquarters. So they're going to wipe out the headquarters of the invading army in Damascus. And the fallout will make the city, it'll blow half the city down and make it desolate probably. So the reason they do this is because you can get away with blowing up Damascus in this situation, okay? You can't get away with shooting a nuke at Moscow or Istanbul. You can't get away with that because they'll return fire with their nukes. But you can blow up Damascus where the enemy is. And everyone will throw a fit. But again, if I had to plan this out from a military strategy thing where you sit down on a table and say, what should we do in this situation? That's exactly how I would lay out the field of battle. Take out the head of the snake in Damascus, track the convoys coming through the mountains, and take them all out and destroy them. Otherwise, you face annihilation. So again, the gloves are off. So, okay, in the next video, we're going to cover what happens after the battle, because the battle only lasts one day. One day they drive in, they all get obliterated. One night, Damascus is gone. Okay. Next video, we're going to talk about what happens after all of this occurs. We'll get a little deeper into that, but this one's going a little long. So please hit the like and subscribe, share the video if you would, and as always, God bless you, God keep you, let you be salt and light. Remember that time is short. Get the word out.